Hello, survivors. Welcome to the State of Decay 2 stream. I'm your host, Jeffrey Card, and over here, we've got Brant Fitzgerald, first of all. He is back. We didn't make him come into work on Sunday because we're not psychopaths, but we're happy to have him here, sitting here driving the stream.
I didn't know what to do with myself all Sunday. I was sitting there just in a ball shaking.
And then next to Brant, we've got Luis Yépez.
Hey.
He is a world builder. He is the senior most world builder at the company, and he is here because he was the one who started out building Heartland before any of us did. He basically was we have Heartland because of him, and so we're going to go through the Genesis of Heartland, where it came from, because by the way, Heartland is out. This kind of dropped like a big surprise on Sunday. We weren't saying anything about it, and then suddenly it's available to download. And so if you've got Xbox Game Pass or you got $10 to spare on the Xbox Store, you can go pick up Heartland. And right now, we've actually got Heartland queued up right here. Hey, Brant, let's show. Okay, so check this out. This is the Jurassic Junction base. Those of you who've played the original game know this base very, very well. You're on the back of a Brontosaurus
That's
right now.
You guys have seen this before.
So what we're going to be doing today is a couple of things. We'll be talking to Luis about where this map came from, how it was built, but we're also going to be comparing to the original game. So you can see this is a screenshot. Joe Swarner went through and played a bunch of Breakdown and got a bunch of shots of the original game. And so this is what Bronto Gas, the Jurassic Junction Bronto Gas looked like way back in the day. And one of my favorite parts of this shot, you can see on the right side, there's a propane tank next to the wall, next to the wooden wall. And there's a hole in the wall in that same spot. Was that intentional?
Wait,
totally.
There's a propane tank right next to that wall, and now there's a hole blown in the wall. So there's a lot of attention to detail that went into this. But even just look at how much the fidelity has grown over time. That really just flat terrain didn't have a lot of room for additional features or anything like that, just because objects cost resources, right? It's like the game won't run if you put too much crap down there. We can fit so much crap and so much detail in the game now.
That is pretty much the definition of State of Decay 2 is so much crap. I mean, we fit so much. Forget it. I'm done. I just quit.
Hey, Brant, do you think you can get there?
Not with a car, but I can get there.
Don't get a car. Yeah, go ahead and get there. All right. So while Brant is getting to a new spot, so Luis, daybreak ended. There was nothing else on your plate. What got you started making Trumbull Valley?
Well, it's not as cut and dry as I think, like people think this happened. It was more during daybreak. I helped on daybreak, like on and off. I wasn't on daybreak. I was barely early on daybreak. Then I was off of it doing other stuff, and I came back to it towards the end to help wrap it up. So I wasn't on it the entire time. And during that time, I was playing around with a couple different map ideas and map modes that, were smaller in scale and just like we're pitching different ideas. And this map just kind of came one day. I decided, I asked James, which is our old world builder, originally responsible for this map and all of our three main maps, layouts. I asked him if we had anywhere around access to the original map's height map or any resource at all. And I mean, if we didn't have any, I was still going to go through and try to figure out how to do it, because I thought it would be a cool idea to bring this map in as an experiment. There was a whole bunch of different things that I wanted to do, so I don't know if you're...
Yeah, no.
I was just looking to see if I could line up the shot.
Yeah, so this is what the Tyrannosaurus over the coffee stand looked in the original game, and this is how he looks now. Really, really similar. I mean, the T-Rex Espresso is basically the exact same spot. My favorite thing, though, is the red bushes right there look a lot like there's a bunch of plague flesh growing around that thing. But nope, those are just plants. And you see, we are plague-free in this area right now.
Yeah, we took a little bit of creative license trying to set up this base a little bit better.
We needed to.
Yeah.
But no, the map itself, like I started bringing it over. Somebody had access to old build with some of the resources, and I was able to bring out the height map, which for people that don't know, that's just like a grayscale image that tells you like how the terrain deforms up and down, what makes mountains and so on.
Actually, I think I've got a picture of it right here. Is this sort of where you started?
This is well in advance of where I started. It was because the original game was made in Crytek, and our current our current engine is Unreal. The translation between the two is not a 1-to-1. So figuring that out is what took the longest. Is getting the elevation map out, and it wasn't coming out correctly. You can kind of see in this image, like stair stepping. It looks a little bit like stairs, right? It doesn't look like actual terrain. So that's like a byproduct of like the translation between the two engines, like it didn't translate correctly. So there was a lot of errors. There was a lot of things that I had to then once I got it in, I had to manually go out and start figuring out how to massage, how to get it looking as close and feeling as identical to the original map as possible. So that was like a lot of trial and error. I think a good chunk of my first month on this map was just figuring that out.
So real quick, let's look at our last comparison shot of Jurassic Junction. So right here, this is, those of you who've been watching the stream with me and Brant for a really long time know this was our favorite place to go. We would grab that pterodactyl and try to drag it all the way across the map. And that pterodactyl, buddy, he's looking a little worse for wear right now, but he's still around.
Somebody found him out in the middle of the field somewhere, dragged him back, and anchored him. He will never again fly free.
That's Cletus's last act.
That's right. That's right.
So, we've actually got a whole progression of pictures here of different stages of the train. Want me to kind of go through them here and let you talk?
I mean, I'll just keep going about like how this came about. So getting this in place, and then I think I started working in Spencer's mill, going up into the tunnel, a little bit of the campgrounds and stuff like that, just to get like a flow and make sure that it felt the way the original one felt. That was the biggest thing, because I wasn't here working on the first one. I was one of the people that is not working here that enjoyed playing the first game. So
yeah, and same here. You know, I joined this company a couple weeks after the first game came out, so I just played it as a fan.
So there was just a lot of trial and error, getting the scale just right, getting a position, and mostly I wanted to do this because the map was originally State of Decay 1 map. Supports a storyline. It supports a very specific gameplay type on top of a sandbox. We have a whole bunch of new systems in the second one, things that weren't present in the first game. I was just more curious, like, what would this map feel in the current systems? Would it even be viable? There was a lot of things that we didn't do in the second game, in the main three maps, that we did do in this one because of performance reasons. Because of, like, one thing that I think people forget is that this is a single-player map.
Yeah.
It's always been a single-player map, so it's supported very, very differently. Whereas in State of Decay 2, every single one of our maps is multiplayer, so there's very, very different considerations.
Yeah. If you only have to like constrain one person's perspective, you can use different techniques than if you've got to get a whole bunch of people out.
If you have to keep track of like clients and things of that sort.
I ran out of gas. I made the classic mistake.
So yeah, one of the main differences in this map and our main maps is, you know, we have like a couple of cluster towns, like concentrated sets of buildings. Mm-hmm. We have a little bit of that in the main maps, and that was one of the things that I wanted to experiment. I'm like, what does it feel like now that we have a lot of our performance systems in place, a lot of our loot systems in place? Like, what would it feel like to put that level of concentration and things for a single player experience into our systems for the second one? So that was really kind of what started driving this. And by the time I presented
so it was really just it was just a big experiment. Like you weren't building this because you expected it to actually get published.
It also was because of the density. And when I talk about density, it's about like how close things are to each other, buildings and structures and stuff like that. Like this is a higher density map than some of our other maps because they're not as spread out. Houses are not as far apart from each other. So it was a little bit of an experiment to see, like, a lot of people felt we couldn't do that density in SOD2. And early on, while developing the game, we really couldn't, because a lot of that stuff was in flux and it was changing. We're getting our I don't know the term, ducks in a row.
Yeah.
So
that's right.
But now, the game had shipped. We have all those systems in place. We kind of know what the game is, how to make a map, how to make it performant, and it was kind of like a big challenge for me of like, don't tell me we can't do that. Like, so it was a big. You know, I was hoping we could do it, and we definitely have shown that with some liberty and some adjustments, we were able to pull this off. One of the big things too that was different, you couldn't destroy things in the first map. You couldn't drive across wooden fences and things, so that changes the layout entirely, because I can't constrain you from not driving across the map and beating our load times. So
wait a minute.
Yeah, if the spot I found doesn't exist, we can actually go to a different place.
Can you show me that shot again? Because I thought it was on the Marshall Highway.
I thought it was too.
That's the entrance you pass it. It's the first entrance, but it doesn't look the
I
same.
think the
We don't
fire
have
engine
the sign.
finally burned all the way down.
Yeah, exactly. So you folks can't see it, but I've been sharing some images with Brant to tell him where to go so that we can do the screenshot comparisons. And some of them are pretty different, so he's having some trouble navigating to the spot that I highlighted.
So that's overall. That's kind of how it was, and like gotta give big credit to Quinn because Heartland is the game mode and is the story experience that you get. That was him. That wasn't me. That the map is me, and he kind of like just came to me and said, "This is what I want to do. I want to, He presented the idea for the end game of the mode and said, "Can we do this in the map?" And I was like, "I think we can." That's kind of how it went around. So it's a marriage of like what I did with what Quinn wanted to drive in Heartland.
So there was this spot in the original State of Decay map.
So I need to go right over here.
It's that, but it's different.
It's a little bit different, yeah. So that's the spot we're trying to find right now. And this is the highway. There's a lot of
So this is basically where we're at.
approximately where it was. Yeah. So you can see a lot's happened in this particular area. There's a lot of places where where things on the highway have changed.
Well, I mean,
People have dragged cars in, dragged cars out.
And this is one of the areas, like if you bring up the screenshot really quick again, this is one of the things that we really went back and forth as we were making the map. Like, how much did we want to do one-to-one? And how much did we want to evoke what the first map did? And getting details that are exactly like this are, we could have done it, but within the time scope and, all the other things going around, it was like, is it worth the effort of putting in somebody to making these signs right now versus how much is it going to impact the game? How much is it going to impact you feeling like you're back in Trumbull? And that's kind of where you kind of weigh the back and forth. So
yeah.
we wanted to evoke the feeling of the original one. We wanted to make sure that you felt like you were back in that map, but we didn't want to get to the point where we're like comparing pixels.
Yeah, exactly right. Because and there's still plenty of room in this world to imagine. These things could literally have just changed. 18 months have passed, and so there's no particular reason why we'd have to be, like you said, pixel perfect to exactly what went on.
Yeah, and I think it's a little bit further because SOD2 happens 18 months afterwards, and I think this happens a little bit forward from there. Yeah, not too much forward, but it's not happening at the exact same time. It's a little bit past that 18
I
months.
mean, they certainly had time to put up the new Marshall sign.
Yeah, which is beautiful, by the way.
Which
lovely and kitschy.
I appreciate their attempts to add normalcy. Like, they had already built the sign, so they decided to put it up. I love it.
So
Yeah, this is another in-shot progress of here. You kind of see like the stuff that kind of looks blurry is the areas you don't really go to. And then the areas that look a little bit crisper is the stuff that I kind of left alone because I didn't want to mess too much with it. And I had just gotten the scale just right on the map, making it feel, and even the elevation changed a little bit from what the original one was. So I needed to do all that stuff by hand so that it would actually truly feel like the map and not, because we use software that generates terrain landscapes and stuff like that procedurally. It makes it look natural. But I didn't want that to erode or do anything to mess up the original layout of the map, so I had to do all that stuff by hand.
wow. So you had to do it the hard way to keep it accurate.
Yeah, and the best way to describe it, if you show the stair-stepped one really quick.
Go back to the this one?
So imagine this. The best description I can say is that this is like Nintendo graphics.
Yeah.
And then we're going to N64. So I had to manually massage all those steps and get it to feel right, and just work with the transitions the same way the first one did. So I had a copy of the original game up on my second monitor the whole time that I was like prototyping this, and I would like move the camera a little bit further and like keep working, trying to like just replicate that one-to-one as much as possible.
Making sure that the paths were the same, but also that the horizon was the same, and
Horizons were the same. It just that it feels the same. I did change some of the landscape vistas really far back because they were like these mountains here in the upper middle of the screen and on the left. They're a lot lower in the original, and I wanted to make sure that when you were in Spencer's and in the farmlands that you got much more of a feel of like a much open world. Like a bigger open world, and so I had to like lift those up, and that's somewhere where you can see the erosion and the natural feel of terrain was really going to let us shine. So I really wanted to showcase that. So that is a modification that I made from the original. That stuff was a lot flatter. You really couldn't see it anywhere that you played, and I raised it up and added a lot more detail, so it felt like it felt like the resolution of the terrain and the graphics went a lot higher.
That makes sense. Yeah, and I think that players. I think this is probably the first map we've shown where players can probably pick out where Spencer's Mill and where Marshall is. It's even easier to see with this one.
Yeah, and so this right here was trying to blend different biomes, different looks. It's something that we didn't really have in the main maps, and I knew that this map had it, so I wanted to play it around a little bit with mixing in something that felt drier into something that was wetter and more forested. And then masking out where the roads happen so that when I did a blur pass and I did some of that erosion stuff, it wouldn't mess with the roads, it wouldn't mess where towns were and stuff like that. Because you don't want the work that's been done on the town, so suddenly you ride this on the terrain and then you come back into the game and everything is like sunken into the ground because now it's all changed. So we have to like mask all that stuff out and work on it specifically, which is why everything that's gameplay area it's done by hand.
What was the? Can you give me this?
Yeah. So Brant is looking for our next screenshot, and I think you're in about the right spot. Does that look right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, let's pop it up here. So this is the factory. That's like just north of Marshall, right? And this is here's a shot from State of Decay Year One Survival Edition. And then here we are in the same place now. There's more detail on the windows. You can see that those little windows up at the top have been boarded up, and the lighting in here is a lot softer. And the lighting in the original game was very severe, and we're using much more of kind of a high-tech lighting solution.
We had it. Matt actually had it a little bit closer looking to the lighting of the original for a long time, but we were having some difficulties like with gameplay and our nighttime. The end game of Heartland particularly was proving to be a little bit difficult with the lighting. Mm-hmm. So we eventually began to dial it back with the feedback, and Matt's fully responsible, and all credit on the lighting goes to him.
You've got gamma cranked a little bit.
I do have gamma cranked. Yeah, that's probably making a difference too, because
it's a little like some of these highlights are a little lighter than they would be.
Yeah, that's true. I've got gamma cranked, so it's easier to see at night when we're on the stream.
Yeah, but we went back and forth. We did have the original lighting, or as close, because we're also in different lighting models in this engine than it was before. Yeah. Different times, a whole new set of graphics settings. So it was a little bit different, and Matt worked with us a lot on the feedback of like, it's just feeling really, not the way we want to. Gameplay's not being communicated correctly and stuff like that. So while trying to keep as much of the original as we could.
So I should break in real quick and just point out one of the things that is that's going on right now during E3. So Refurium. I don't know if you guys have heard of this this website. If you came to the last stream, you probably saw it. Refurium.com is a place where you can go. We've got a giveaway going on where basically if you go to their games section and click on State of Decay 2, you can register to watch streams, participate with us on social media, and get points that build up towards, basically the people who have the top tier scores at the end of the event are going to get free copies of Heartland and some like special like weapon and vehicle bonus packs. And so if this is the first stream of ours you've gone to and this is the first time you've heard of it, go to refurium.com and there's a lot of opportunities for you guys to get some free stuff. And we're going to be doing a giveaway on this stream as well. So definitely, so stick around at about 2:30 Pacific time, which is about 10 minutes, and then at 2:45 we're going to do some giveaways for Heartland codes right here. So if you don't have Heartland yet, please stick around because you're going to have an opportunity to get it. So I
think this is about where I presented the project to the team, which was around September, I feel. So the map actually was about 50% done at that point. Spencer's was fully laid out. Some set dressing was on there. The Marshall was, for the most part, blocked out. Some of the other areas were there as well, and I had kind of like hit the limit of what I could do unless we wanted to take it further and figure out what we might want to do with it. And I think that's around the time that I presented it to the company in one of our meetings. But it had been cooking on my personal time for a little while to that point.
That's longer than I even realized it was
happening.
I heard about it about that time.
That's when I think most people think it started, but it didn't.
So another thing that you share with me is we've got this sort of before and after of what the horizon looked like.
Yeah, so this is a little bit of what I was talking about, where bringing it in with some of the softness and other things that we had going on, like this is the after. This is this is the after.
Yeah,
the
here's
other
the
one's
after.
be the before. So you can kind of
You
see.
started here.
Yeah. So we want to make the terrain look a little bit more natural, getting a lot of those, the water sediments flowing into where there's a big river crossing through Marshall and stuff like that. So we wanted to do that, and this was also an opportunity for us to explore some techniques for the future, for the studio and stuff, to figure out like how we can make higher resolution terrains or better looking terrains in a faster time turnaround.
Yeah.
So I was experimenting with this stuff as we were building it.
Hey, Brandon, I got another picture for you here.
Are
I
we
think
going to do that one?
You can find that, can't you?
Okay. I love knowing exactly where things are
Yeah, exactly, right?
because we played this so much.
So we've also got some pictures of Marshall when it was in progress.
Yeah, this is about midway through. I think this is how far it was around the time that I presented it. So you still see a lot of the stair stepping. Things are just generally blocked out. Getting the feel. That's the main thing I did, was placing it, making it look like the original, and then going back and adjusting it based on our systems, based on needs, and just like trying to, enhance it, put a little bit of my own personality into it. So started with hit the mark of the original and then modify it to, hopefully enhance what the original experience was.
Yeah, and and I imagine you also had to respond to a lot of like you were saying earlier, like performance issues and stuff like that, because when we raised between State of Decay 1 and State of Decay 2, we raised the fidelity level of the imagery enough that doing something as dense as Marshall was actually going to be a serious performance problem. And
Yes.
so some of the decisions that we made about the nature of Heartland, I think, were driven by the need to take Marshall and sort of get it under control. Was that accurate?
Yes, yeah, a little bit. Yes and no.
Okay.
It was definitely it was definitely a tool for us to leverage performance and get the map under control and actually have it feel good for the players. And then at the same time, we chose it because of the story that we wanted to tell. So it wasn't like an all or nothing kind of thing. So
Yeah.
I mean, at the time that this shot was taken, that wasn't really being planned or anything like that. We didn't know what we were going to do or how we were going to try and deal with what we knew were going to be problematic areas.
Yeah.
Can you show me the reference?
Oh, yeah, sure. So let me show you, I think, tail on the right side. Oh, yeah, here we are. We're getting real close. All right, so this is what the plane looked like in the original game right here. And by the way, thanks again to Joe Swerner for collecting all these screenshots. This took him a lot of time, and I appreciate it. But this is what it looks like now. Again, I've got the gamma cranked up. That's part of the reason why the lightness is kind of blown out. But also we have softer lighting, and you can see the fire's out, and there's something much worse going on.
No, but that's. Can you go back to the other image?
The
One thing I wanted
yes.
to point, like not that one, the
Oh, the image we were looking at
Like-
before this.
the one with the field, because I think it shows more like the landscape.
Yeah.
So you can kind of see how little rocks there are.
Oh, yeah, that's true.
This is like something that like I didn't do during this whole time. I just kind of kept like where the hills were and stuff like that. And like when we hired Chris, one of our new world builders, I kind of set him off on, hey, I need help just populating the rocks. And he was like a huge help once this actually turned into a real thing of me being able to concentrate on everything that's happening in Marshall, finishing off the layout and stuff like that. And he just went and started populating, because all that stuff is done by hand, and it took, I think populating the rocks took him a good 2 months of time. It's time intensive.
So yeah, so this plane was one of the most memorable landmarks, and there was lots of sort of fan speculation about what went on with this plane, what this plane was going to mean, and so I love that it became one of the centerpieces of this map.
Yeah, it wasn't for a little while there, and then we talked about it, and we really wanted to like make it a focal piece in this mode, so we went back and brought it in.
There's your next destination there, Brant.
Oh, I know that one.
So real quick, while Brant's heading over to the next one, I should mention another place you can go if you're looking for some free stuff is our Discord. We've actually got a contest going on right there. If you go to discord.gg/undeadlabs, you can join if you haven't joined before. And Celebrating Heartland is a channel where we're doing the giveaway. Basically, there's a particular post in there. If you just react to it, you'll be entered into a drawing to get either a 1 month subscription to Game Pass, which will effectively get you Heartland for a month, and or a very rare prize, vinyl copies of our soundtrack, which is ridiculously cool. So if you have not joined our Discord community yet, this is the right time to do it. You can get some really, really sweet stuff.
Yeah.
So while Brant is heading out there, do we want to start looking at some of the previs stuff for the
Sure.
Gauntlet?
Yeah, so this is, I think, about
Are
halfway.
we worried about spoilers?
We're not talking story, right?
Yeah, we're just talking locations. We warned them that we're going to be looking at locations. We're not going to explain anything about what happens towards the end of the game in March.
Yeah, so this is once we chose where we wanted the gauntlet to be in place and stuff like that. Some of the experiments, because we really hadn't done anything like this that spans such a large area, like these walls just going on for like blocks and blocks. It
Just
was
flesh taking over an entire neighborhood.
yeah. So this is actually where a lot of the effort went into the map in the full time that we knew what Heartland was going to be and stuff, like the R&D for it. Thankfully, most of the map was ready, so I was able to concentrate on this alongside with Scott and the direction from Doug and stuff to try to figure it out, because we knew that we needed to block it off. We knew that we needed it to expand a really, really like further than buildings and further than fences. It's like, how do we do that while keeping performance in mind and making it look cool, something that you are, both kind of scared of but interested to go check out. And so it went through a lot of iterations. This is like a super early, I think this is version 1 of me going in there for a couple of days and just plopping something together with some of the assets that we had. We hadn't even made the actual proper assets at that point.
Yeah, and speaking of filling things with flesh, over here, by the way, I should mention you mentioned Doug Williams, who's our art director, who did a lot of the concepts for what it looks like for plagued flesh to take over a neighborhood.
Yes.
And then Scott Alba, our character artist, who basically anything that's made of flesh in our game, usually he makes, and including humans,
Or
but also
Susan.
including this garbage.
Susan too.
Susan Jessup also did.
Yeah,
a lot
this
of
was a
stuff.
really good collaboration because a lot of people touched this. It was Gronk, our effects artist, me, Scott, and stuff. We all like kind of took the same problem and went our own direction, tried to fix it. And actually, kind of cool, we all ended up with a very, very similar solution. So we were able to kind of incorporate everybody's work and have Scott just unify it.
Yeah.
This is actually what happens when employees don't wash their hands before returning to work.
So yeah, so you can see here, this is what the Fork in the Road Diner looked before. It was actually a perfectly searchable, normal place.
I'll get closer.
Yeah, and now we've got this disaster. This is one of the most plagued up buildings that we have in the map right now. And it's a really nice. It's probably, if the player spends a lot of time in Spencer's Mill early on, I imagine this might be the first like truly plagued up building that they encounter.
Yeah, I think if they follow the story on both ends, they should see this within their first like 2-3 missions, I believe.
This gives them some nice sort of like foreshadowing for what they're going to be seeing throughout the game.
Yes.
Hey, Brant, you got another quick one right here. That is just right above it.
Oh,
Cool. So let's see. You've got, I think, just one more shot here, which is the original layout for
Yeah.
Jurassic Junction.
So we had a couple ideas for bases where we might want them, what we might want them to do and stuff. And so this was like a quick layout pass that I did for the base of like, if Jurassic Junction were to be a base, I think it should take up these buildings that are around it. This is how far out. And we knew it was a big base. We weren't sure we were going to be able to pull it off. And I believe that I got it to this point or something less than this before I got Brant to look at it and have him go nuts with the base. Brant is responsible for a lot of the stuff inside of the base. I just kind of like sketched the idea and said, what do you guys think? And we got a lot of support behind it. And
yeah, Dan Cole and I had a lot of fun. We were able to do so much custom work in this base. It made it a lot of fun to noodle around in.
yeah, so that's just the kind of like sketched version of the base.
So here's another one of the shots that that Joe collected up on the roof of the Swine and Bovine with the Fork in the Road Diner in the background, and this is what it looks like now. Which it's just interesting seeing like there's a lot of really subtle touches with sort of the higher fidelity graphics, the way that the light plays across the rooftop. I mean, we didn't add a whole ton of extra detail to that roof, but it still looks more like a real place.
I feel like we should lower the gamma back down.
Maybe so, because we play at night so often
Yeah.
that it's like it is hard to see detail. If you want to lower the gamma down yourself while
Well-
we switch away for something real quick,
They'll play it. That's okay.
Okay, so it's time to do a trivia question for you guys. So we're going to do a giveaway. We've got 3, I believe it's Codes for Daybreak. Megan can correct me if I'm wrong about what it is we're giving away. I'm pretty sure it's Codes for Daybreak, though. By the way, I should mention, Megan has been collecting the questions that you guys have been asking us. I've been ignoring them for now because we're going through this presentation with Luis and with Brant, but we're going to be answering your questions as soon as we've gotten through it all, which is actually really close to where we are now. But let's do the trivia question. So this is our first trivia question. So there's going to be one winner in Twitch, one winner on Mixer, and one winner on YouTube. If you know the answer, just chime in the chat. And the first dozen or so people are going to be entered into kind of a random drawing to see which one of you is actually going to get the prize. So the question is, name the character you can recruit from the Wilkersons. So when you get to know the Wilkerson Enclave, there's a lot of stuff that goes on there, but there's one character from that enclave that you can actually bring into your own base. Let's have their name, and then while we're doing that, let's head back to gameplay here. Man, I've got such a complicated presentation here. It's hard to find each of the shots that we've got. Brant, while people are answering that question, let me send you to another location here. Did you already fix the gamma, or were you?
No. Well, let's see. Am I on screen?
You are totally on screen right now, so let's not do it right now. Let's
Okay.
Let's send you over to.
It's going to be nighttime
It's right
soon
there.
enough.
Right here. Let's head over here.
All right.
Yeah, so I actually, when we first got started, my save game here was actually at night, and so I sat in here nursing the controller for like 30 minutes to get it to be daytime so that we could actually kind of match up with Joe's shots. So let's see here. Actually, while he's headed over there, I should mention to you guys that Decay Fest has actually got a start date now. So last stream we were talking about the fact that you should follow Decay Fest on Twitter, because Decay Fest is this big community event that Blaze and Mr. Dart and Cases will put on every few months. And we knew that another one was coming up. We didn't know when. Now we know when. It starts on June 19th. And so if you want to sign up for the next Decay Fest, it's a great way to get started if you want to be a State of Decay 2 streamer. Basically, it's an event where they set up a schedule and a bunch of different people all stream State of Decay 2 all in a row. And you can collect a nice audience of folks who are interested in seeing the game. And so you can go sign up at bit.ly/DecayFest4. And would love to have more people getting involved with our streaming community. So I believe that Brant has arrived at the Church of the Ascension. I think we're more towards around the front with this screenshot,
Okay.
which is right here. So this is the Church of the Ascension in State of Decay Year 1 Survival Edition. And this is what it looks like now. The trees have all grown a little bit bigger, and look at that battle damage. So the original church is...
Authentic battle damage!
The original church is beautiful and kind of pristine, especially considering it's the apocalypse, because it's only been the apocalypse for just a few weeks in State of Decay 1. But in State of Decay 2, a lot more time has passed.
Dun, dun, dun.
So this is one of those places where, like... You didn't take it over with plague. You just had to age it and have, no one's been repairing it for a year and a half. And that's, does it take a lot of study to learn what happens to buildings over time?
A little bit. It's just not as much as you might think. It's just a lot of thinking about what the elements would be, what does the weather feel like in this area. I mean, this is all Mark, really.
Yeah,
right?
Mark.
We just
True.
Undead Mark.
We just kind of give the direction of hey, we want this to decay a little bit, to feel not uninhabitable, but definitely just not maintained. That was, I think, the general.
Mark. Mark says donations at the church have dropped significantly.
So Mark does a lot of that stuff, but this is where some of the environmental storytelling happens, right? You go and do things like this where you're not necessarily having a VO or any kind of text or anything like that, but you want to just communicate to the player just
look what happened.
Yeah, I love the bloody car that smashed into the gate. It's it's great.
And then there's a corpse pinned under the. I mean, we know what happened. You don't have to sit. You don't have to have a VO line that says, "And then the car ran into the gate." It's okay, something bad happened here.
Yeah, so we try to do that on the set dressing. Leverage it with the art.
What are you doing?
we leverage
your
it,
shoulder is beautiful, Brant. But
leverage it with the art and stuff like that. There's specific story beats that happen when you get here, so we wanted to reflect that.
Like this tells me that that somebody dropped the entire load of strawberry jam.
yeah, they were making a donation, and this is your next destination, by the way.
This
in the
is
future.
great. I mean,
But one of the-
life went on after we left Trumbull Valley, right?
This is
Yeah.
something that we do even in the main maps, which is like the environmental storytelling. We do it in layers. Some of the stuff we did here was a little bit more specific because we are, hitting a very specific storyline. But what we do is we think about like what would have happened in this place throughout the last 2-3 years, and it's not necessarily just one group of people that might have been here. It might have been a group of people that then got up and left. Another group of people came in. Maybe there was a battle. So it's like layered storytelling that we try to do, and it was really fun doing a lot of this stuff for Heartland specifically because we knew some of these sites we had a very specific like, hey, we need to just make it feel like this happened here.
Yeah.
Which is something that is so much easier to follow when you know what you want to hit.
Yeah, and in the core maps too, it's like each building that you decorate, you think, oh, people might just kind of blow through here really quickly. They're just here to loot. They're just here to clear an infestation. They might not pay attention. But I imagine one of the advantages of working in Heartland is the fact that you know that there's specific landmarks people are definitely going to go and check out, and that gives you an opportunity to put something in front of them that you know they're going to appreciate.
Yeah, and we also kind of know how they're going to approach those story beats and mostly where they're going to be coming from. So it gives us a chance to start kind of like peppering a little bit of that storytelling before they get there. So there's some stuff around like where the plane is. Like if you look around, like you can just follow things that are not necessarily spelled out for you.
Looks like that's
But
it for loot.
Yeah, so I'm showing Brandon's next destination.
but if for players that like to take it slow and they're looking around and stuff like that, like it'll just kind of fill in the picture a lot more.
So we've got some winners now for our first trivia question. So on Twitch, the winner is Nacho5. Might also be Nachos. I'm really not sure how you want me to pronounce that. So Nacho5 on Twitch. On YouTube, Dick Van Troglodyte is getting a free code for Daybreak. Why am I saying Daybreak? For Heartland. And on Mixer, X Abbott is the winner. So congratulations, you guys. But what was the answer they gave? The answer they gave was Brock. Brock Jensen is the guy that you can recruit from the Wilkersons. So there we go with that. We're going to do another giveaway in just about 7 minutes. So if you didn't get this time, stick around. We're going to do another one in just a moment. And Brant is now heading up towards Mount Tanner to see what...
Okay,
oh,
shizzle.
no! What's going on here? So, in the original game, let's grab this picture here.
This is disgusting.
In the original game, the way up to Mount Tanner through that tunnel looked like this. But now it is completely blocked up by plagued... Oh, look, there's the fire truck that we were missing
Giant
before.
sneeze.
Yeah, so the tunnel sneezed, and this is what we're left with. So we ended up having to, basically, we focused in on Spencer's Mill and Marshall for the story of Heartland. And so there's explanations out in the map for sort of why you can't get up to the ranger station, why you can't get to Fairfield.
That's a big enough explanation for me right there.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you play through the story, you'll slowly start getting revealed what's been going on, why these areas are inaccessible. I mean, we can't really go into it without
getting into too much detail. So I don't know where Joe
That
got...
is the least helpful screenshot I've ever seen.
I'm showing Brand a screenshot right now of something that... so I think just going to anywhere in the woods is probably good enough for this. Okay, he knows where it is? Okay, cool. So yeah, so Brand's headed to our last location. You know what? We've been collecting a lot of questions from people in the chat. So let me start going through some of these. Let's see here. Oh, so Awesome Twitch Dude wants to know, overall, how long would you say it actually takes to make a new map? Like, if you needed to start from scratch right now and make a new map, about how long would it take? Does it depend on how many people you got working on it and how much?
So usually we've worked on a map per person on average. In the past here, this one was a little bit differently because I was able to offload and break up the map in a way that I was able to give Chris a lot of areas where I wasn't at the time and stuff like that. So, he helped me finish up this map. Like, Trumbull wouldn't look the way it looks if Chris hadn't come in and helped me, like, just polish it and set dress it and do all the kind of, like, heavy lifting on it. A map, like, it depends. If we were talking about like a normal main map, you're talking about anywhere from 6+ months. Like it's a big endeavor. Like it takes a long time because the thing about maps is that everything happens in the maps, right? So we have to design how you're going to traverse, what are the points of interest, how you're moving around, why is this map different than all the others. But then on top of it, we have to juggle all the game systems, all the design things that happen in the map, like make sure that we are supporting that stuff. Yeah. So it's not a matter of just make a new terrain and put some houses down and stuff like that. There's so many moving pieces.
Yeah, I remember there was a period of time where we realized that there wasn't enough ammo, for instance, in a lot of our maps, and so we needed to create a whole new kind of like backyard shed that could provide ammo, and then you had to go through and make sure that there was enough ammo sites everywhere. And that's a concern that like you can't just put in whatever looks beautiful. You have to put in what's beautiful and also what's functional.
Yeah, it has to be functional first and foremost, and then we have to, from there we look at it and like, okay, how do we make it look really good and feel realistic and feel really good for the player. So every single map is its own beast. Like all of our 3 main maps are different in their own way, and so making a brand new one it is a big effort.
This is close to my best guess.
Oh yeah. So let's check out. This is our last screenshot from Joe. So this is what the woods looked like.
Oh, I'm off.
But not by much, I'd say. I mean, this is a pretty decent example of where you were. So
I think I should be over here, but I don't know.
But still, I mean, I love how like sort of the mistiness as you're looking back behind the forest, and this feels like, I don't know, I want to go camping here minus the zombies.
Well, and I mean, look at all the vegetation we were able to afford in this shot and
compared to this, yeah. It's mostly just empty dirt and leaves on the ground, whereas here it's lots and lots of grass.
Yeah.
And we're able to get, I mean, instead of sort of the occasional rotten corn stalk, like the fields have now got a lot more plant life, a lot of which can be destroyed.
Yeah, listen to it as you drive through it.
Yeah, there's a lot going on there.
Oh, I gotta have the noodle knife.
Takuro Spirit wants to know, who gave the T-Rex a coffee cup?
That was
probably Brant.
And check his mouth too. He's eating a gnome.
I think I've seen that. Malix Corbin wants to know, are you guys planning any new traits and or legacies? Those are 2 very different questions. So traits are easy, and actually I've got a rack of new traits that I'm thinking of adding to the game very, very soon. They're just sitting in an Excel file waiting for me to stick them into the actual game. Legacies, though, they come with a new leader type. Leader types suggest that you need to have a new facility that they support. It's a lot of missions, so many missions, and so much voiceover. So if we were to do a new legacy, that would be a major, major investment, and that's just, it is a lot. That doesn't mean we'll never do something like that, but traits are so much easier.
Do I have any more places to go, or can I go back to the
You
base?
can go wherever you want to go.
Go to the PVC house. The Plants for Zombies.
Did we remake that in here?
Oh yeah.
Oh, sweet.
There was a lot of Easter eggs that I knew were in the main map, in the original, that we try to keep in the Plants vs. Zombies.
Oh, here's the corn.
Yeah, the corn is actually one of the things that I like the most about that we got into Trumbull. Like, that doesn't happen in the main maps. It was something that we tried. I had one of our tech artists take a look at it and like, hey, I'm thinking about doing this. Is it feasible?
One of the most difficult things for me in the times I would playtest this while we were working on it is actually allowing myself to drive through fences and stuff, because I'd spent so many years driving around fences.
Yeah, and that's one of the examples. Yeah, you just passed it. It's the last house. That's one of the examples of how much this changes the design and the flow of how you move around the map. Because you couldn't do that in the original map, which helped like funnel you through certain areas, like offset load times and stuff like that. And when you add destructible fences, I can't no longer prevent you from just driving through town.
So 14 Rocket wants to know, how does the water drainage work in Trumbull Valley? Because like, well, it comes from the dam on the west, feeds into the river, but then the river in the east seems to be coming from the mountains. Was that an interesting thing for you to try to solve?
It does happen like that in life too.
Yeah, it's. I didn't think too much about it. I guess it's the same way that it flows in the original. So I just replicated that. It does go off the map. You don't get to see where it goes or how it where it eventually feeds. So
I've got blood plates.
You can use.
Oh crap!
You can fill in the blank there, I guess.
So Dino Luxton wants to know if is it a bug that when you're picking up plague samples you don't drop down anymore, you don't like bend over anymore?
No, it's intentional.
Yeah, because you're picking up so many of them in this map, right?
Especially when you're getting into some of the hectic fights, and in the end game, it interrupts and takes control away from you, and it feels kind of bad as a player when you do that in the kind of combat scenarios that we have going here. So it was intentional.
So there's the Plants vs Zombie house.
So these got a lot of unused lawnmowers.
Right. They obviously didn't win that game.
Hey, it's time to do our second trivia question. So let me pop over to doing that. So, all right, we've got another trivia question. This comes from one of my favorite lines of dialogue in the game, and the reason it's one of my favorites is because it's actually it's a Stephen Fry quote. It's one of my favorite things that he's ever done in his life. And this is the second game I've managed to sneak it into. So I want to see if you guys can remember it. So the question is, hold the newsreader's nose squarely, waiter, or friendly milk will countermand my what? If you don't know what I'm talking about, and that sounds like nonsense to you, I'm not surprised, but there's a particular mission in the game where you hear this line, and I'm curious if you guys can come up with the last word in that sentence. So while you guys are doing that, looking to get some free Heartland codes, I'm going to come back here. Joe Ambrose wants to know, is there any chance we'll see the Jurassic Junction SUV return from the Year One Survival Edition? That we were kind of riding the edge of copyright and trademark infringement there.
We can say confidently no.
That one's a special one from the past when no one cared what we were doing.
Yeah. When no one knew we were even a company making a game, we snuck by, but now we have to be super careful.
Several people have actually asked questions about whether Jurassic Junction is the only base in Heartland, or if there's others.
No, it's the only base in Heartland. We did that specifically because we wanted to make it the biggest base. We wanted to be able to concentrate you in the story and involve yourself with the characters more than just playing around with the survival element of it. We still want you to experience that, but the focus of Heartland puts the emphasis elsewhere. So we didn't want a lot of the other stuff to feel like a distraction to just going through this mode, getting to know these characters, getting to know what's going on in this map itself. So it's we were able to do this base the size of what it is because we decided to do one base also.
Yeah. So we got some advantages from the fact that we only chose one, because Brian was able to spend all of his time perfectly balancing what all of the different facilities for this specific base we're able to do without needing to sort of make it be universal and apply to a lot of different bases. And then, Dan Cole was able to build these crazy,
Yeah, and it also plays into a little bit of the lore and what's going on, that we didn't want to make it feel like you could just set up base in Spencer's or, Marshall. Definitely not a good place to be. So that kind of plays into the whole design and lore that we're trying to just put into this.
Yeah. We've also had a lot of questions over the course of the day about whether or not the Trumbull Valley map is going to come to the core game. We answered it a couple of times in the pre-stream. I want to make sure that the answer's out there. That basically, right now, the map could not support the core game. We've only got the one base, and that base only supports a kind of a very different progression of facilities, which would hinder the core map's missions. And also, we don't have the buildings or any of the markup or any of the stuff that would support what we would need, what the core gameplay would need from the map. And so we can't easily just say, oh, well, this is also in the core map, yay, because a bunch of stuff would be broken. And so the question of, are we going to expand the geography of the core map in the future? We haven't announced anything yet, but we are still working on this. One really important point, even though there's always limits to what we can actually say before things are ready, Heartland is far, far from the last thing you're going to see from us. We're continuing to work on this game, and if there's something in Heartland something that you wished was going to be in Heartland, and it turned out not to be because we did this very story-centric, very specific, bespoke experience, and you were looking for something else, that's okay, because we're still working on a bunch of other stuff. And I think at least one of the other things that we're working on right now is probably going to be something that you like. So please stick around with us. We're going to have plenty to announce over the coming months, and Heartland is definitely not the end.
Yeah. It's not easy to plug it in either, too, right? You can't plug in a Mario Sunshine game level into a Mario Galaxy.
Exactly.
Even though it feels like they're the same world, why can't you? there's a lot of reasons that we don't have enough time to go into.
Ooh, I dodged that
Yeah.
bullet. So I realized that in running around earlier, I dumped all of my plague samples, and since our main character has the plague now,
You got to be Malik now.
I have to run around and try and find all those plague samples.
Oh, that you've
So,
dropped before.
Yeah.
If you switch to Helena, I think she has a higher chance of drop. Oh, you have one there.
I have one.
You can put
I
that
need,
in.
I need 3.
No, you can. Oh, he's already infected.
Yeah, he's
Oh.
got it.
So Zirconator wants to know, if one of the special characters happens to die, say before you get them back to base, will there be another opportunity to get a character with that special skill set again, or are they lost forever?
They're in Heartland. They're gone.
Yeah.
They're you on the next playthrough maybe if you do it right and you don't get them killed and you don't not recruit them. But no, in Heartland they're gone. They're gone.
Yeah, well, one of the things that I love about Heartland is the fact that it really leans into the idea that every human being is unique and irreplaceable. Because while we try to make that point a little bit, by giving people these special 5th skills and things like that in the core game, the fact that you can kind of endlessly recruit people for as long as you want, kind of fights that theme a little bit. And so I love the fact that in Heartland, you've got a dozen or so characters available, and that's it. And if you want the skills of that character, well, you've got to keep that character alive, and there's kind of no two ways about it. So yeah, there's a few people who are still sort of they want to know how long it took to make Heartland. And so I guess it's kind of hard to say because it was just you by yourself for a while compared to when the team started.
So the map was pretty much laid out and done from a playable prototype kind of scenario in I don't know. About 3 months and stuff like that. And then when Heartland officially started, I guess you could say if you throw all the schedule offsets that we ended up having, maybe 5-6 months total, but the map was at a really advanced stage by the time the actual game mode came into it, and we looked at how do we apply this game mode into this map. So 6 months of officially everybody working on it, but a lot of my time before that, on and off with other things on it. So it's hard to tell.
Yeah, so while you might say that Heartland itself took about 6 months, if you had to do another Heartland from scratch right now, it might take longer.
Yeah, probably.
So going back to the trivia thing, so again, we've got some trivia winners. I'll start with the answer this time, because that's what I usually do. So, hold the newsreader's nose squarely, waiter, or friendly milk will countermand my trousers. That's the sentence that Isby gives you that every character... I like listening to each of the characters in the game say that line, because they all react to it a little bit differently.
There, they can't see it.
Oh, wait, you guys are doing something over there that I can't see? What are you doing?
I just gave him his plague.
What the? I clicked over just for that. What the heck? Okay, so the winners. On YouTube, we've got Nezumi Fan is going to get a free Heartland code. And on Twitch, Scout Fan 21. So we got 2 fans, the Fan family. They're going to be getting Heartland codes. And then on Mixer, Dr. Death 1914. Some old school Dr. Death. He's going to get one too. So, or maybe she, actually. I can't tell anybody's gender on here. So, congratulations, all you folks. And yeah, thanks for being on the stream and participating in all this stuff. So, Caleb Wilhite wants to know, can you get any other Wilkerson on your team besides Brock?
I don't know the answer to that.
I don't think you can.
So.
No, yeah, Brock's the only recruitable one. In fact, the file name of that character has got a special R next to it. It means he's the only recruitable one. So, yep, just Brock. And yeah. And actually, it's funny, if you guys have been following, if you guys watch the stream on YouTube and have been looking at the thumbnails, you'll notice that a week before we announced Heartland, the thumbnail is a picture of Brock's face. So I've been sneaking in Heartland stuff, little Heartland Easter eggs that you guys might not have noticed until now. Death69 Bad Killer, I think. That's a very long name. Is that 2 names back to back? Interesting. Anyway, somebody is asking us, are the Heartland weapons in the main game? Specifically thinking like the Echo weapons.
So, no, they're not, but you can get them in if you play multiplayer as a client, because you can loot them and bring them back in, if I'm remembering that correctly.
That is correct, yeah.
And we may be doing something about that later. Who knows?
Yeah,
Yeah.
we got a few different ideas for how we could sneak those into the main game.
Watch this as you can see the progression. I upgraded the defenses, and you can see what this is here. And now they have decided to.
Sort of clean it up.
It takes a while to load in, I think.
Yeah, it swaps over.
Look at that.
Oh, look at it. Oh, wow.
They moved that piece over to now. Oh, I don't have power.
Oh, no.
Darn it.
We got to go get Chavez.
As soon as you get power to the base, run up onto the head of the Brontosaurus and listen very carefully, and you'll get a little bit of a little gift from the audio team.
All right, awesome. I haven't even done that yet.
Yeah, this mode allowed us to do a lot of different stuff that we were just not able to do in the main game. Like one of the things I love is the power. We are able to. I don't know if people have noticed, but when you go to the Wilkersons or Santos, like they have power at night, right?
Oh, right, yeah.
It looks way different and stuff like that because we know exactly where they're going to be. We know what they're going to be doing and stuff like that. So it gives us the opportunity to do that kind of stuff. So
Yeah, because we weren't able to give power to every single building that any enclave could be in on the main map. But here, because everything was predictable, you had a lot more freedom.
exactly, yeah. So knowing exactly that these are the only buildings that could potentially do this aside from your base gave us some of that freedom. So there's subtle things like that in this map that we took a lot of care and passion to be able to deliver that we just can't do in the main maps currently.
So we are just about out of time. Let me quickly just sort of wrap up with some of the things that people can do after they've watched this stream. Remember Refurium.com? Go there, register. If you like watching State of Decay 2 streams, you could actually be earning points towards getting awesome prizes if you register over there. And then Refurium can keep track of you watching all of these streams, and then you can get stuff for it. So please go and do that. Another thing you should know about is our Discord, discord.gg/undeadlabs. Go there. There's another giveaway going on. If you go to the Celebrate Heartland channel, you can get in there and you can win vinyl copies of our soundtrack, which is probably the most ridiculous giveaway prize I've ever heard of a game developer doing. I keep kind of being almost embarrassed that I'm saying that we're giving away something so cool. And also some Game Pass memberships. Then you can also go to DecayFest. You can follow them on Twitter at twitter.com/DecayFest. But actually, that's what I put up last week. Now you can actually register at bit.ly/DecayFest4. So go over there, do that. If you're at all interested in streaming State of Decay 2, this is the event to get started with. So please go and do that. And then, of course, stateofdecay.com. Throughout E3 week, we're going to be posting new things to that channel, and so to that website. So go there, check out the news tab, and see if every day new articles might have posted from our E3 stuff that we got going on. And the last, next week, we're doing a dev diary. So if you come to this stream next week, we're going to premiere our Heartland dev diary, which has got interviews with people like Andy Collins up there. We're going to get to look over people's shoulders while they're working, like creepy, folks. There's Matthew and Eric sitting there looking at something very important on that screen. Luis is in it. Check out him. And then, of course, you saw at the very beginning of this slideshow, Luis's lovely dog, Kira. So please come to this stream next week because we want to be able to share this thing with you guys. Alan Diekfus put a lot of work into shooting and putting this whole thing together, and and Wonder and a lot of other folks were involved. So come do that. And
yeah, the photos were great. We have a couple people who are professional level photographers here.
Yeah,
so it's always nice because then we're like, hey, do you want to take some pictures? And they're like, oh, thank God, yes. I want to do something different.
Well, thank you so much, Brant, for giving us a tour of the map and finding all of those sites so we could compare to.
This is like a homecoming. I love it. I love being able to go back in and play. I was busy doing other work a lot, and so I would look over Luis's shoulder while he was working on this map, and I was like, oh, it's home. It's home.
Yeah.
So excited to
Hope
get to play
all of our old players really enjoy going back there. All of our new players that haven't experienced that map enjoy it, and also a lot of our old coworkers that are no longer here. The big thank you to everybody
where it all began.
that has ever touched this map. So.
And also thanks, Luis, for coming in here and explaining the whole history of how you built this thing. There's a lot of details you shared that I had no idea about because I was just sitting across the room, no idea what was going on. So thank you so much for sharing all of your knowledge and experience with this. And thanks for making the map.
And thanks to you guys for showing up and hanging out with us. We love it when you do that. Thanks for all the wonderful social media that you guys are giving us. We love you. Thanks so much.
Yep. And we'll get out of here. So we're on the end screen now, so about 15 seconds of us just talking.
That's right. Yeah.
So we're probably going to...
attack. See,
She holds all the secrets.
she does.
Yeah. If you guys still have questions we didn't get to, come back next week. We're going to have Quinn and Kale on here. They're going to answer everything. Maybe not everything.